Yep, it's 7:30, so we can start the meeting.
Oh, good. Okay. Got my gavel? Ouch. It doesn't gavel very well. Call to order the regular City Commission meeting of June the 9th, 2020. May we stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic
for which it
stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Amy, can you call the roll, please?
Commissioner Budnick,
Here.
Commissioner Perry,
Here.
Commissioner Scott,
Here.
Commissioner Wall,
Here.
Mayor Metzger.
Here. We're all here. Okay, the first item on the agenda is the community pool discussion.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So we have a presentation that's been prepared by Greg and Shawnee that follows along with the agenda summary that was in your packet and has some additional information. Greg and Shawnee have been working on the pool now for probably about 3 months. And we were all a little bit blindsided by the governor's action to open pools. Nobody had any advance warning of that. So what we're doing is we're requesting that the City Commission take a look at our previous decision to close the pool and either confirm that or to guide staff to keep going on trying to open the pool. And I emphasize trying because it's not a sure thing. But I'm going to share my screen now. One thing that I want to highlight is how people can participate in the discussion. And I know that we've got quite a few people. We've got far more people who have logged into this meeting than any of our previous couple meetings.
Oh.
So I'm sure that we've got some interested comments about the pool. So what I'm going to ask is that everyone, if you're interested in commenting on this agenda item, that you use the raise hand function through Zoom just to notify that you want to talk. And then we'll call on you at the end of Shawnee's presentation. And I think that'll be the easiest way to order this when we have 29 people or 29 people on the call. So let me share my screen. Okay, so
can I first wish Shawnee a happy birthday?
Yay!
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Happy birthday!
Thank you.
Okay, so if you do want to participate in the discussion, use the raise hand feature. If you're on an Apple, you'll see up in the corner the little 3 dots in the more icon. You can click on that and then click on the raise hand button. If you're on a PC, down where participants is located, click on that. And then over on the right-hand side in the participants bar, you can click on the raise hand button here. I will see that as the meeting host, and I'll be able to call on folks when we get to the end of Shawnee's presentation. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Shawnee.
Thank you, Jim. Good evening, city commissioners and all the people in the gallery. Thanks for coming out today. Greg and I have been working on the pool since March. I know we've had scheduled and rescheduled to be open and open and open. And then finally, based on all of the guidelines, based on what Oakland County was telling us, and then things that dictated down from the governor's office, everything pointed to camp and swimming pool closures, any group gatherings. So on May 7th, the city of Pleasant Ridge, along with the Recreation Department, decided to cancel all in-person programming through Labor Day. Jim, I'm sorry, I'm trying to move some stuff around so I can see it too. So then on June 1st, the governor made the announcement that she was allowing for pools and summer day camps to be open. So all Parks and Rec professionals across the state were completely blindsided, backtracking for months of planning, and really just dumbfounded trying to contact their local health departments. I can speak on the behalf of Oakland County. They do not have their guidelines out yet. I can't speak for other counties, but we don't have our guidelines out yet since the governor has made that announcement. Jim, if you want to flip to the next screen, that's kind of just the overview of things that we went through. So now what we're trying to do, like I said, we deemed it was not going to be safe to be open, and that was May 7th. Not much has changed except for she made the announcement that you could open. COVID and the pandemic is still alive and around. Numbers are still maintaining. So people are still contracting it. And it's still not safe for our pool patrons or staff to work at the pool at that time. So not much has really changed except for her announcement. Jim, if you want to go to the next one, these are a few slides that we got from the National Parks and Rec Aquatics Association. So if you can see at the top, those are pool closures. Lots of them in the Northeast here. Lots of these are communities in Michigan. Obviously, you can see in the southeast part of Michigan, we are highly hit with COVID numbers. New York, lots of closures there. Wisconsin, there's lots of pools, Wisconsin Dells in there. Those places are also closed. If you look at the bottom, there's a few little blue dots. Those are pool openings. Okay, those little blue dots at the bottom of that last screen. So we did send out a survey to local parks and recreation places and communities here in Oakland County. We actually did send it out statewide. A few other communities replied. So this screen is showing, the pie graph is showing there's 10 communities that replied. 8 of them are in Oakland County, 2 out of the county, which are St. Clair Shores and Battle Creek. The remaining 8 are in Oakland County. So if you notice the pie at the top, it's large. 80% were not planning on opening before she made the announcement, and now 90% are still remaining closed after the announcement. So those are pretty staggering numbers. So on to the next screen where it's the pool safety concerns. You know, obviously when you have a pool, safety is the number one. That's why there's so many rules. That's why we have so many governing bodies, the state down to the Oakland County Health Department. And then we do partner with Red Cross. They are the ones that train all of our lifeguards. In any given summer, we do need 25 lifeguards. That's about 20 guards and 5 head guards to make the summer run. If the lifeguards needed to make a rescue, you cannot do that and maintain social distancing. And anytime there's a major catastrophe, mouth-to-mouth rescue breathing, diving issues, anything that deals with safety, the lifeguards have to be in direct contact with adults or children to take care of those issues, whether it's first aid, mouth-to-mouth rescues, any injuries that could potentially happen. So swimmers will have to remain 6 feet apart from each other, except for their immediate family. That's the only time that you'll be able to swim in clusters. Otherwise, you'll have to do it 6 feet apart. We will need to increase staff. We will have to have some policing on the pool deck at that time to ensure that social distancing is maintained between families. The pool furniture will not be allowed on the pool deck. You will have to bring your own bag chairs with you. And locker rooms will be for emergencies only. The changing area and showers will be roped off. Like I mentioned, we do need 25 lifeguards. Well, 20 lifeguards and 5 head guards to make any summer run. American Red Cross isn't hosting any in-person any trainings until July 10th. Because of social distancing, you can't have more than 10 people in the building. And at this time, no indoor pools are open to be able to provide that training. Then there's, the obvious COVID-19 training or staff duties that will come into place. The hand washing, the cleaning of the building, throwing away screenings. These are lifeguards that are going to have to take temperatures. So there's so many different things that'll come into play. Another big one, if any of the guards are exposed to COVID, they will have to go on the 14-day quarantine just like anybody else. So that would devastate the pool if it was open. We would definitely not. We don't have enough lifeguards at this point in time that are willing to come back. We did send out a survey to all of the staff that was returning from last year, and then anybody that has reapplied for 2020 season. We got 22 replies, which includes 20 guards and 2 head guards. 8 of those 22 were just no's. They weren't planning to come back at all. Out of the remaining 12 guards, 5 need to be recertified and 1 isn't even fully certified. And we had 2 head guards and 1 would need to be recertified. So we haven't even hit our staff minimums at this point. And then also any guards under 18 years old will need to have a parental permission slip signed saying that they can work during COVID and they know all of the added risks to their duties. The duration of the pool season, Jim, if you want to skip to that next slide. Our very best case scenario would be a mid-June opening. Mid-July opening. And as it looks, most of the kids that have expressed interest in coming back, they are children, or they are kids that go back to private schools, which their last day of work would be August 10th. So this also includes that, Amy, the city clerk, she comes over and does lots of the human resource aspects of it, onboarding staff. We go through lots of staff training. On top of the American Red Cross, we go through about 32 hours of in-house training before pools even open. And that's like where we keep our Band-Aids, how do you answer the phone, all the way to any HR questions, payroll, how much do I make an hour kind of questions that Amy helps them out with. So that's, a Greg to a Shawnee to a city hall onboarding process, which is pretty lengthy as well. So best case scenario, if there's any repairs that need to be, obviously that would delay the pool opening. If anybody knows the pool or anything about pools, usually when there's water, there's problems. So we can't even guarantee once they pull off the cover and start up the filters that there wouldn't be any problems. So that could delay things too. There is an Oakland County check sheet that is 3 pages long of things that have to be done before a pool can even be open. And then the closing date, like I mentioned, lots of our kids do go back to school, and their last days of work is August 10th. And we don't even have public schools, their starting date yet. That could potentially play a factor in too, and local colleges too. Jim, if you want to flip to the next one. Okay, so this is our pool facility. So our normal max capacity is 200 people in the pool. The governor came out and said that you can have 50% of your people, but your staff count toward the people count. So on any given shift, we could have 10 to 12 to 15 people on duty. So we took our maximum down to 80 based on to have staff. And then we are still waiting on confirmation from Oakland County Health Department because the actual square footage of our pool actually would only allow with social distancing about 45 people max to be in the pool at one time. So 80 is a big stretch. Okay. So this picture I found on the internet, I think it screams volumes. Although these people are laying on grass and see how they're clustered with their own family in these circles, that's what the Pleasant Ridge pool deck would look like. Obviously, it wouldn't be grass under them, but it would be the cement, and each family would be responsible for staying in their own social circle during their stay. So people may think it's funny or it looks funny, but that is it's a real depiction of what things would look like on the pool deck. Yeah. And then that's also on the pool deck. and in the pool too. So what a pool day would look like. So first of all, each resident will get a 90 to a 2-hour time frame each week to swim. So a 90-minute to 2-hour time block a week. And then you would get in line here. And then once you get in line, however many people, like I said, it could be 45 to 80. We're still waiting on that number. But each person that comes through the pool, children included, adults included, they'll have to have their temperature taken. Face covering must be worn when not in the pool. The lengthy wait time to enter the pool. So if you're like the 40th person in line and you go through, that will also cut into your pool swimming time. So your block of time, that 90 minutes, we're still working on the time frame here. So it's either going to be 90 minutes or 2 hours, but that wait time will also be included in your swim time. The pool area will have to be thoroughly cleaned between block times. And so the lifeguards, they'll come off the stand, and that's when everybody will evacuate the pool. They will have to get out 12 minutes prior to their block time ending. So you have to get out 12 minutes early, get dressed, get all your belongings together, and then everybody will exit through the emergency gate. So that way nobody's coming back through the locker rooms, and because you can only have one family at a time passing through the locker rooms to the pool deck. The changing areas and showers will be roped off. The bathrooms will be for an emergency setting if needed at all, okay? And then if you don't have your pool tag, you will not be admitted to the pool deck. There's lots of tracking that's going on with COVID, so we will need to know, have daily reports of every single person that was on the pool deck that day, including staff, babies, children, adults. And then no guests. I know we've always been able to have guests in the past, and we all love to bring our family and friends, but this year that will not be happening. There's a reservation system. Jim found this. It's very user-friendly. You would just have to set up an account. The recreation department would plug in the allotted times. No walk-ins would be allowed. No guest passes honored. You would have a week. You'd register up to a week in advance. And then there's no makeups for any missed swim time. So that's if there's a contamination in the pool. That's if it's rain delay and anything, any pool-related closures for downtime. So those would not be able to be made up. So the website that we're going to use, it's called poolisopen.org. It's really a user-friendly a system. It's similar to a sign-up Genius type of software. Jim, if you want to go to slide 11. Thank you. There's the logo for the recreation or for the pool software. So we went over those, no walk-ins. We kind of seen that stuff. Jim, if you could go to the next one. Thank you. So this is the interior spaces. Again, when you're in interior space, you have to have your mask on, and when social distancing cannot be achieved. So you'll have to arrive in your bathing suit and already be showered. The bathrooms will be for an emergency only. One household in the locker room at a time. So that is your immediate family, your cluster, getting your temperature taking, fobbing in, walking through the locker room, and then the next family would be able to head in after you. Okay? So the lifeguards would need additional equipment. So everybody's required to have their own set of PPE, which is personal protection equipment. So all lifeguards will have to have their own rescue tube, first aid kit, and that's including a rescue breathing mask and electronic whistle, because the recommendation will be that lifeguards are in wearing a face covering. So electronic whistle is something that's held in your hand, and it's almost like an air horn. That's when you can blow it if there's any running or for any reason if a guard needs to, because you can't blow the whistle under a face covering. So and that's across the board. So each guard will have to have that equipment readily available to them. So additional restrictions, no gatherings, pool parties, or pavilion use. Many of you probably have seen the structures being constructed right now. It's really starting to come together, but we will not be able to use that this summer. No birthday parties and no social gatherings. So no birthday parties. I know there's some baseball teams that have celebrated here in the past. We won't be able to do anything like that. There's no concession stand or access to the vending machines on the recreation side. All pool patrons must sign the COVID-19 waiver of liability. No communal equipment. The swim team has kickboards and fins. We will not be able to share any of that equipment with you. So whatever you bring in, your own goggles and towel and stuff, you bring with you and then take with you. And then anything lost and found at the end of each time block is going to be tossed. And anybody that is under the age of 13 must be accompanied by an adult. This is just about violators. We try our best to be real positive around the pool deck, but there will be lots of no's this season. When coming into contact with other families, social distancing, face masks, the hand washing stations, different things like that. So our first events is a verbal warning. The second one will be asked to leave for the day, and then the third offense that we've have to ask, the swim privileges will be revoked for the season for that person. This is a lot of words, but I'll just sum this up for you. The bottom line is that we cannot protect the safety of the community and its residents or our staff from COVID. It's just not safe. It's not responsible of the city to put staff members or the community members at harm's way for swimming. This is all based on research that Greg and I have taken. We've logged about 400 hours since March of online trainings from across the country, from New York to California, from Wisconsin, all the way to Georgia. These aren't recommendations or things that I've pulled out of the air. I've been working in Parks and Rec for 20 years. This is all factual based things, items that we've talked about. And that's really about it for our presentation. So if you have any questions, please feel free to let me know. I'm happy to share resources that we've watched. They're all open meetings, so it's not anything that's protected. It's from our National Recreation Association. So it comes from recreation professionals that know swimming, health professionals, there's CDC, EPA, the health departments are on there. So we're happy to share all of our resources. So thank you for your time. I appreciate it. And stay healthy.
Thank you, Shawnee. Jim, we're going to open it up now. Do any of the commissioners have anything to say before we open it up for public comment?
Mayor?
Yes.
This is Ann.
Yeah.
Perry. Shawnee and Greg, you guys have worked with us commissioners so much over the past couple months to help us sort of understand all the steps along the way. Because I know Shawnee, this is like your lifeblood is the pool. And so I know when you take it very seriously and have really been diving into every option to be able to open this in some safe way. And it's been really hard. I mean, with the different things opening up and then this last minute change from the governor, I know this has made the whole discussion like just a whole different ballgame. But thank you guys for really diving into this and presenting us with so many facts over the past several weeks. That's all I want to say. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you, Ann.
And
I'd
happy
like
birthday.
to say something.
Yes.
So I just want I just want to say, you know, those of you who know me, I've been in the community for almost 20 years, and I've been going to the pool for 20 years. I take my daughter Charlotte to the pool. She swims in the swim team. This was really an emotional thing for me, given that what we've all been through with the pandemic. And to be honest, even though the decision was made to close the pool, I was hopeful when the governor, removed the ability for us to open. And I requested, and Shawnee and Greg obliged that they dig in and see if there was anything to be done. And while it pains me to say this, after all the research and work that's been done, I can't get on board with it and feel good about keeping the community safe. But I do want to thank you for doing all the research, because I know that I know that the whole community would like to see it open, and it's upsetting. Thank you.
Thank you, Amanda.
Hi, this is Brett. Thanks to Shawnee and to Greg for all the work that went into investigating what we could do with the pool and to attempt to open it. It is an emotional decision for everyone, because in many ways the pool represents a lot of what we do as a community in the summer, but it's just not the right thing to do this year. And I think one of the biggest challenges for me was knowing that the lifeguards would basically be signing up to put themselves in danger for this virus that is still floating around in order to serve the community. And I would not be comfortable putting that form in front of them this year. So I'm not in favor of opening the pool. And I really do appreciate all of the work that went into looking for ways to do that. Thank you.
Thank you, Brett.
Mayor?
Hey, everybody.
Go
ahead,
Chris.
I too wanted to thank Shawnee and Greg. I've tossed out a ton of questions specifically to both of them, and I've learned a bunch during this time as a new commissioner, and how incredible our staff is. So I wanted to give kudos to them too, and provide a little bit of context of where my mind's at. Because I do share the same concerns that Brett and Amanda do, and as well as Shawnee and Greg. It's a very real thing that we're going through right now. But this is kind of the way the table is set in my mind, is that number one, we do have this ability to open the pool, and obviously that's why we're talking about it. COVID cases have gone down significantly in the last month and a half. 129 cases as of yesterday. To give you some more context, at Beaumont, which was about 800 beds filled at their peak, is now 30. And 4 of those are on ventilators. So the situation is not what it was when we originally made this decision. It has changed. And I think that's why we have seen the government change their decision as well. So the situation is really fluid. And I'm curious to see where we'll be in 2 or 3 weeks, just as the playground situation and having to wear a mask changed almost like the snap of a finger. That doesn't mean the virus is gone. No, there's certainly risk out there. But I can tell you that my place of concern comes for the kids and the kids in this community, and speaking to give them something if we can. And remember that lifeguards are not a replacement for parents. Lifeguards are there as a secondary function to parents watching their children. So I wouldn't want to put too much on lifeguards too. I completely agree. They shouldn't be put into as that and put that immense pressure on them. At the same time, if they have the conversation with their parents and they're comfortable working at a pool, I have a hard time telling them no too. If they are willing to work and they are willing to put themselves in that position, it's hard for me to not give them that choice. There are so many obstacles, and for this to work, Shawnee and Greg laid out, an immense plan, and that's why I think that I'd love to see it at least get a chance. I'm not saying that it will work, but their extensive plan and showing how they have done 400 hours of research shows me that they have the capability to make this the safest possible. 100% safety is not feasible, but I am confident in their capable hands that we'll have the best experience possible. Now, the picture that Shawnee showed, that doesn't maybe look appealing to most, but to some that could be an oasis in that circle and having a chance to dip their toes in the water this summer, even if it is for an hour, 2 hours a week. So I'd be curious to see, once again, my place of speaking is from the behalf of the kids and the residents that have kids. And while none of you are obligated to go to the pool, I believe that if we could staff it in some sort, and from my math, you couldn't get a full day of staffing, certainly couldn't, but we could manage maybe a half day or every other day. But it solely rests on the lifeguards. And if they're not willing to do that, I completely get it. I respect that decision. But from where that survey was that Shawnee shared, there were lifeguards willing to. So I'd be curious to hear what the residents have to say. And that's where my head's at the moment.
Well, then I'll just following up on Chris, and I'll make it unanimous that we'll thank Shawnee and Greg for all the work that they've done. Yes, I would like to hear from the residents, but I would like to hear from the residents with the understanding that they're going to have possibly an hour and 15 minutes, depending upon the line to get in, at it once a week. And thinking about all the restrictions and everything that people have to go through and making sure that they're committed to following all the distancing and making sure that their kids don't touch any other kids and everything else that goes on. I mean, I'm definitely, I will be very blunt and say, I can't commit to opening the pool under the restrictions that we have and under the health guidelines that we have. But I would like to hear how the residents feel about how it's been laid out. Shawnee has been very clear as to what a typical day at the pool would be. Is that something that people in the city are more than happy to follow those rules, and that would be sufficient for them for having a pool that'll be open for maybe 4 weeks, 3 weeks? That's it. I'm interested here. Obviously, we have enough number of people on that are tuning in. I'd like to hear what they have to say.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. And I actually should have ran through these quickly when Shawnee was done, so let me go through these 2 slides. This is one of the questions that we frequently get around this issue is, okay, well, are you going to refund my taxes? And we've answered this question before, but I do want to run through these numbers again because I think it's important to point a few things out. If we don't open the pool this year, we avoid about $40,000 of cost, and that's $25,000 of lifeguard salaries, and then about $15,000 water and chemicals. Everything else that goes into running the pool and the fitness center is a fixed cost that we can't avoid. We have still to maintain and heat and cool the building. And so those operating costs are only 18% of the total tax revenues which support the pool and the fitness center. And that's an important point as well, is that the property tax millage we have to operate that is for the pool and the fitness center and the building and for Ridge to keep all of the things that happen at that building going. So the $40,000 of avoided cost is about $35 a household. So the 2 options we have would be to refund that $40,000 or make additional capital investments. The facility over there is 16 years old now, and that's getting towards the end of a life cycle. So what we propose to do is make some additional capital investments. One of the things is purchasing wellness center machines. We've been leasing those. And so if you've leased a car, or, you know how it goes, you never gain ownership. You just have a permanent payment, even though there's plenty of life left in a lot of the machines that we turn in. So purchasing wellness center machines for $45,000, and then with an average lifespan of about 7 years on a machine. We were leasing for 4-year terms. So by buying, we can then keep those machines maintained, and then slowly over time roll over new machines as we need to replace them. From an upfront investment now of $45,000, we could save about $6,000 annually going forward into the future. We've got HVAC and roof issues we need to address over there, minor stuff, but it adds up. We need to replace the sand in the pool filter. Shawnee has been researching this, and we're going to go to glass, sort of granulated glass that goes in there. Works great in some of the pools that are using it, but that's a $15,000 cost. And then we did order new pool deck furniture, which we can't use this year no matter what we do, but with foundation help. So those are some of the things we want to do to get ahead with the avoided operating costs for the pool. So just wanted to make that point. Now, let's turn it over to resident comment. Again, if you want to speak on this, please raise your hand through the Zoom interface. On Apple, click on the 3 dots that are up in the upper corner and click on raise hand. On PC, click on participants and then click here to raise your hand. I'm going to stop screen sharing now. And the first resident we had was Karen Leonard. So I'm going to unmute you, Karen, and go ahead.
Hi, happy birthday, Shawnee. Wanted to say that.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Good evening. I'm Karen Leonard from 121 Maplefield. I felt like, as the resident Karen in the city, I felt like it was time to weigh in. I've been a proud and happy resident of Pleasant Ridge for 15 years. I understand the complexities of city government, as my mom worked for the city of Huntington Woods for nearly 30 years. It is often a thankless job, and you will never make everyone happy, even though you try. So I do appreciate your time. I am disappointed in the final decision. I am disappointed that the final decision with the pool was made before the governor's target date of June 12th. It should have been business as usual, as much as circumstances allowed, in prepping the pool and hiring the lifeguards, all while letting residents know we are unsure about opening to the public, depending on the governor's orders. Our city pool is not dependent on revenue from pool memberships like other surrounding cities. The pool has to be maintained either way, and worst case scenario, we could have let the lifeguards go if we didn't open. By not doing that, I agree, we did put ourselves in a more challenging situation to open the pool for the current summer. It's become a series of impossibilities, which leads me to my next concern. The document/presentation the city put out regarding opening the pool reads much more of a discussion of why we can't do it instead of a discussion on how we can do it. It appears as if the decision has already been made before truly engaging the residents in thoughtful conversations or a survey about personal safety and risk. It feels as if the city has made the decision that it is not safe for residents, even though both Governor Whitmer and Oakland County Executive Dave Coulter have deemed it safe to open public pools in Oakland County, following specific protocols with proper signage, which can indeed be managed. Grosse Pointe, Heart of the Hills, Rochester, Beverly Hills, Farmington, and Oakhurst will all open their pools by June 15th. Today, the city of Detroit announced that public pools can be open. Additionally, many private area clubs will be opening in the week. There is nothing worse than a Karen who just complains with no suggestions. So I am offering to work with rec staff and the city and volunteer my time. I am off for the summer because I'm a teacher, to organize a group of residents, all who use the pool regularly, in coming up with a solid, detailed plan of how our pool will run this summer, or summer of 2021, should COVID still be a concern. That's the thing. Next summer could be exactly the same. I hope it isn't, but it could be. We need to have this plan in place well before May, recognizing lifeguards are a critical part of operating, perhaps searching for available lifeguards from neighboring cities or even adults who are looking for employment in the current climate. We must have contingency plans in place, and we should not be satisfied with just shutting it down. Finally, I have heard a lot about the safety concerns of lifeguards doing saves at the pool. And as a mother of 2 little boys, I realize this is a very serious topic. But in the 15 years I have lived here, I think there have been less than 3 saves, and they did not all require CPR. Furthermore, if I'm walking down Oakdale tomorrow and I see a resident fall to the ground from a heart attack, I'm not going to ignore the resident because of COVID or social distancing concerns. I'm going to do my best to help that person. My point is, outside of staying in our homes 24/7, everything brings some sort of risk in this new COVID era. Let the residents and the lifeguards or parents of the lifeguards choose whether they are comfortable with that risk. Many parents and teachers will have to face this decision in the fall with schooling. We are a city of dedicated and intelligent residents who I know would adhere to any required protocol put into place. I wanted to share that I have the names of 15 residents who are already willing to assist in this planning team to open the pool. And I thank you so much for your time and for your service to the city of Pleasant Ridge.
Thank you, Karen.
Thank you.
Karen, if I may ask, based on what Shawnee has presented, is that an enjoyable experience?
I think it is what we make of it. I think we can make the best situation of the current climate. I know many airing pools. We've looked into joining Plum Hollow or other pools, and they are limiting it to 40 or 50 members. And I can tell you, as a person who uses the pool often, many days there are no more people there than maybe 6 families anyways in the daytime. I obviously think it would be a bigger concern on the weekends. But I think the plans for the most part put in place, yes, could be as enjoyable as we make them. Those of us who have been home with kids for months would take sitting in the kiddie pool over there. So it's just what you make of it at this point.
Sure. And I think the reason I asked the question is that when I read Shawnee's notes, I didn't read them as a series of can'ts. I just read them as a series of realities. So it could happen. It's just that that's what it would be like. And we'd have to agree whether that's an enjoyable experience and whether the risk is worth taking.
And so that's why I was suggesting that, like, just a general survey could have gone out at some point to residents, like, do you feel safe using the pool under these circumstances? Are you willing to, use the pool?
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next we have Tom McAvoy.
Thank you. And yeah, thanks for the hard work on the report. I appreciate it and agree with everything Karen said. By the way, happy birthday, Shawnee. We love the pool. I understand that, the ultimate goal here is the safety of everyone. But I think some of the things that were outlined in the report that was very thorough didn't take into account kind of what Karen already mentioned. If I'm not on that list already, Karen, sign me up. My wife would be on. We rode up to the pool dozens of times last year, threw the towels on, rode up, and there was no one there. And I understand that's not an everyday thing. So this idea that we have to sign up a week in advance and we can't get in if we didn't sign up, or these, I think it's just a little bit kind of over the top. We have an amazing amount of technology. I'd be willing to donate a Nest camera to the building, or 2 or 3, or raise money to donate them, where we could have a live feed for residents to see the pool. And I've brought it up in the past. We could see the fitness center, and you can decide if you want to go up there and wait in the line, or if there's no one there. Obviously, it's going to ebb and flow, and I understand that. But I also think beyond parents volunteering to work at the pool, mandatory that you stay there with your children. Anyone under 16, 18 cannot be in the pool without adults in the pool with them. Skip the adult hours, the 10-minute break, or make that a 10-minute break for everyone for cleaning or cycling around. Also, you have a lot of first responders in the community. I was trained, I'm since lapsed, but I'd be willing to sit down with the police department, fire department in Pleasant Ridge with my spouse and retrain, so it wouldn't be hands-on strangers, and we could retrain for some first responder so that there's less duties for the lifeguards. And Karen mentioned the number of saves. I know that one save is enough to warrant all the training and all the lifeguards, but I think parents would sign waivers saying that we will be responsible for our children. And I understand that's not going to hit every resident, but a lot of my neighbors don't even use the pool, and they're happy to pay the whatever it is. I saw the $35 fee. I look at it like, if there's no return, what's the savings? So let's open it anyway. If there is no refund and necessary, and I'm not interested in it. I'd be willing to, like I said, donate more technology to potentially make this happen. And that's it. So thank you for your time. I really appreciate it and all the hard work.
Thanks, Tom.
Okay, next we have your username is showing up as Coach Scott. Can you give your name and address?
Yeah, it's Scott Shelton at 7 Maywood. Hi, thank you for letting me speak. Shawnee, you did an immense amount of work. This is obviously was a huge amount of effort to put that together. Thank you very much for your effort, but I have to say I agree with everything Karen said. I saw it as a list of reasons why not to be able to be open, not a list of things, here's what we could do to make this work for people. I think it was slanted in the we're not going to open vein. But she said clearly many of the things I felt, and I just want to say I agreed with that. But I will say that I don't think staffing is going to be your concern. There are a lot of certified lifeguards, fully trained, both summer and professional winter lifeguards who are out of work, who want to work, right? And lifeguards, by the nature of their training, should understand the risks that they're entering into, both with COVID and not. And that's part of their responsibilities as a job. But I don't think that staffing is going to be, if you look outside of existing staff, I don't think staffing is going to be your problem. I know I have a handful of kids off the top of my head. I coach swimming. I'm a swim coach. All right. So I know kids who would work. All right. They would work tomorrow. Their parents would sign. They are ready to go back to work. So just wanted to throw that in there, that I think staffing should not be the turning point by which a decision is made. Again, thank you for letting me speak, and thank you for all the work that obviously everybody has put in on this subject. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, nobody else has their hand raised. So last call for comments from the public on this. Oh, okay, we just got 2, 3. All right, we'll keep going. Jessica Hertzig.
Hi, everyone. Hope everyone's doing well tonight. I just want to also say that I am part of that team that Karen has dedicated and committed to putting together. I think there's a lot of residents who feel like if we have to step up to the plate, we want to step up to the plate and help in any way that we can to be a collaborative effort with our city. I don't think this was ever intended to be a situation where, we were told this is how it was going to be. I think it would have been nice to have had collaboration all along. And I think at this point, I second that profoundly. And I really would like to help in any way that I can to make this easier on the city to help manage. I do have a question, however, about, some of these extra costs that, money could be put towards. And I guess I'm curious to know, with operating costs of the pool, I mean, isn't that built into the budget anyways, as far as this $15,000 for, putting in the new sand and the filter and things of that nature? I feel like aren't those costs that should have been allocated anyways? And also I was curious to know about, I'm on the foundation, so I know that we're giving a percentage of the money towards the pool equipment. So I don't know why that was necessarily called out, because if I don't have the numbers in front of me, I can't remember offhand. But it was my understanding that the foundation was covering almost all of that cost. So again, in agreement with the gentleman who mentioned that, we're not really saving any money by keeping the pool closed. I don't really understand how we should have been doing some of these repairs and maintenance up until this point. And I guess I don't really understand how that didn't happen. So I think this is all the more reason why we really need to push to try to make this happen. Because I think we are in a perfect position to do so. I also believe that the CDC and the WHO are coming out with new data every single day talking about how this doesn't live on surfaces, how chlorine does kill this virus. Now they announced yesterday, the WHO did, about asymptomatic carriers not being at risk. So these are all things that play a huge role into being able to come back to a sense of cohesiveness with our community and moving forward and doing something that we all want to be a part of. So that's my 2 cents. Thank you so much, Karen, for stepping up and kind of spearheading this. And I'm on board. Thank you.
Okay, I'll just address a couple of those numbers questions. The foundation's covering 25% of the cost for the pool furniture. And then we have a regular budget for all of the inevitable repairs that need to be made when we open the pool every year, but going with the glass media was more expensive than going with the traditional sand because it's better. So it gives you clearer, better water than you get with a sand filter. So this is an opportunity to upgrade a cost that we already had coming. Let's see, next we have Megan Martin Campbell. Megan, you're up. Megan, are you there?
Yeah, it's Sean Campbell. Signed in.
Sean Campbell.
Yeah, 58 Sylvan. So I think we're talking about a giant administrative burden for the city for a very short period of benefit. I'm kind of disappointed that we were talking about potentially closing the basketball courts forever because of some bad language and a couple of scuffles. And then during a pandemic we've never seen, 100,000 plus Americans have died. We're talking about we should open the pool. I think we should take it a little bit more seriously. I appreciate all of the work that's gone in from the city and all the residents who have talked about wanting to pitch in. I'm curious what Jim and Chief Nowak have to say about the ability of residents to pitch in areas where there's giant liability problems. And so again, I think it's a big administrative burden on the city for a very short benefit. Thanks.
Thank you, Sean. And you are correct. That's one of the questions that we would need to, I guess, get our arms wrapped around is if we were going to some sort of other, model, there are liability issues. There are code issues. There's health code. There's pool codes, which require, certified lifeguards. So those would all be issues we would have to sort through. Could we use volunteer help at the front desk? Yes, sure. I think that might work. But again, there are some things that we can do and some things that we're limited, not by our own decisions, but by just laws, liability, insurance requirements. Next up with the hand raised, we have Kara Binder, Kopchik.
Hey, you got it. It's actually Christopher Binder Kopchik. I'm Kara's husband, same as Sean. We're signed in under her account. So, yeah, I guess I kind of want to echo what Sean was saying.
Can you please state your address for the record?
Wonderful. 15 Maplefield. So, yeah, just kind of echoing what Sean was saying. And we're new residents. We just moved here in September. We were super excited about the pool aspect. Just really as a way to meet all of you. We don't really know a lot of people in the neighborhood yet. And we were kind of looking forward to the social aspect of it. I like to swim laps. I was super excited that I could do that in the summer, in the morning. It was kind of great. So we were hopeful about it, but I really, I don't know. I think we're kind of on the side of that the COVID has been a pretty serious unknown thing for a while. And I'm thankful for the work that the city's put into it and what those requirements could be. And I guess from our perspective, it doesn't really meet what we were hoping to get out of the pool this year. But I think it'd be wonderful if the city or that 15-person team that was looking into it could kind of use some of the time to figure out what next year maybe could look like. And if we could open up the regular time and what would a what would a full summer look like, and in light of COVID, what we could do next year or couldn't do. So it's just our 2 cents. We're thankful for the work the city's done. We're thankful for the work in trying to keep us safe, and yeah, that's it. So thanks.
Thank you. And you know, I did this a couple of times. It's been mentioned about next year. I think I speak on behalf of Shawnee and everyone else when next year is a totally different ballgame. It would have to be something, you know, majorly worse than we're seeing now to not open next year. And we'll have more time. We'll have a lot more knowledge about this disease and about how it spreads and how we can manage that. It's novel. It's new. It's only really 3 or 4 months we've been learning about this thing. By the time next spring rolls around, and really, you know, the pool, it is like turning the Titanic around. That's part of the issue. We could decide to open the pool tonight, but by the time we get the contractor out here, the earliest date the pool contractor, because Shawnee had called, could get here was June 22nd. And then it takes about 14 days to get the chemistry established in the pool, and something that large, and then it's health department inspection. So even if we had all the staff that we could handle, it's still July 10th. So normally this pool process starts in March, and next year I fully anticipate that will be going forward, barring, you know, major considerations otherwise. So I would say let's not be too concerned about next year at this point. But for now, the next person up that we have with their hand raised, and again, remember, raise your hand through the Zoom interface, either through the participants button on a PC or by clicking on the more button on the upper left, the 3 dots. You should see an item there to raise your hand, and then we can get you called on. So the next person we have with their hand raised is Natalie Foco. And I apologize to everyone if I mess up anyone's name.
That was actually really good. That's exactly how you pronounce it. So I'm Natalie Fuoco, 21 Millington. I appreciate all of our city commissioners. Shawnee, you know, I absolutely adore you. And I'm really happy to see so many residents here to discuss this. When the governor announced the lifting of restrictions, I think we all knew that this was going to be a complex challenge. No one thought that it was going to be an immediate light switch. What I wanted to see from our city leaders and everyone involved in this decision making was, all right, guys, like, we saw the notice. We are going to do everything we can to see if this is possible. We just want to tell you up front, it may not happen, but you can trust that we're doing everything in our power to see if we can get this open. I'm frustrated by the language around safety because in my opinion, with the state saying that it can open, with the county saying that it can open, I'm not sure that it's the city's responsibility to determine then whether it's safe to open or not. We can talk about how to do it in the most safe manner, but it would seem that ultimately we can trust our residents to make good decisions for themselves and their families. Somehow we have become a society where we want to like not trust other people. And I know Pleasant Ridge residents to be responsible, respectful, courteous individuals. And I believe that they could make the best decisions for themselves and their families. In addition, when we're talking about, you know, spacing within the pool, Shawnee had said that, you know, it was 80, but maybe it would have to be 40 with distancing. But I think that was considering each individual and not that like families of 4 and 5 could be together in the pool. And so I just am wanting to know a little bit more about if the guidelines are mandated or if the city is setting like their own guidelines or just feeling like they have a further liability that maybe we're not aware of. I also want to make sure that we're doing this independently of something that neighboring cities are doing, like Huntington Woods. As Karen mentioned, you know, they have to have their members pay to be part of the pool. So I can understand if you were concerned, if you would have enough residents paying for membership for the pool, if that would be worth it. But that is not a factor for Pleasant Ridge. And I just really hope and trust that our leaders are making decisions independent of Huntington Woods, because there seems to be a little bit of an alliance there. We have some Huntington Woods leaders just here commenting on our thread. And I'm just wondering if that's influencing our decision as well. We are very different from Huntington Woods. We have a much smaller resident base. Our pool runs extremely different to Huntington Woods. And so I just am wanting to hear that we're making our decisions separately. Grosse Pointe has opened their pools because they never closed them. There are dozens and dozens of pools that are slated to open next week. So I know that there's challenges, and I just wish that we were rolling up our sleeves and taking those head on. So thank you so much for hearing me out.
Okay, thank you. Next on the list, we have Mike McGrath.
All right, there I can unmute myself. So Mike McGrath, 6 Cambridge. I want to echo some of the comments that were made earlier that, listen, while I appreciate Karen's comments that we could have waited, unfortunately, that wasn't the decision that was made. So we are in a place that we're in. I think, and I'm not an avid pool user, you know, my taxes obviously go to the pool, but I, like previous residents that voice their opinions on here, worry about the liability that we are putting and the burden we're putting on the city. While I appreciate a bunch of the residents raising their hands saying, I'll volunteer and things like that, after sitting on the foundation for many years and everything else, it's when the rubber meets the road and people, you know, are called to do what they need to do, this community doesn't always rally around and step up to the plate to do the right thing. So I would echo the commissioners on, for the short period of time and the amount of burden administrative wise and things like that, I think that we shouldn't open the pool. We should leave it closed. We should focus the attention on what things and priorities we can put in place for next year and, you know, move on from this discussion. If residents feel the need that they need a pool or things like that, I think somebody said earlier, there are plenty of options. You are more than happy to go to a local club or something like that if they feel, or you and your family feel that that's what you want to do. But I just think that there's too much risk here to open this pool up this summer. So that's my opinion.
Thank you, Mike. And I do want to, I guess, address a couple of things Mike brought up, and also Natalie. We're not relying on Huntington Woods on this. Back in late April and early May, when things were still increasing, things were a little more dire. All the pool operators in Oakland County, the public pool operators, we all came to the conclusion that it was too risky to open. So we all made that decision based on the information we had available at the time. That includes the Oakland County pools, Red Oaks, and the other ones, Oak Park, Huntington Woods, us, Southfield. So we all arrived at that decision on our own after looking at the data. And so I think most of those, all of those, I think Huntington Woods might be also considering like we are, but all of the remainder of those pools are still staying closed. So, you know, I know it's disappointing, but it was a decision we had to make at the time. Next, we have Christine Matthias. Christine, please state your address.
Hi, all. Christine Matthias, 106 Elm Park Avenue. And my husband, Tim, is sitting next to me. First, I just want to say that if everyone before me has not made that clear, how much we adore and love Shawnee. She truly is, for anybody on this call that has kids, she is a touchstone for our children. And when they found out they weren't going to be at summer camp with her for the summer, they cried. and they've asked about her several times. And Shawnee, I know you and I played phone tag this week, and I've reached out to Ann Perry and to Chris, and most of you guys know Amanda is a dear friend of mine, over these last couple of weeks. And I have to echo some of the comments that I'm hearing that are just exactly how I've been feeling these last couple of weeks. When we heard that Huntington Woods was closing their pool, I reached out to Shawnee and said, please don't make a rash decision that will affect the entire summer. Let's have a contingency plan. Let's talk about a plan B, and let's think this through, because things are changing every day. I work for a medical skincare company, and every Friday, based on the news in each state, we have multiple reps living in different, how we should say, governed states of where they can go and how we can get them there safely. And that's really become a part of my job now, and it wasn't before. And I'm responsible for keeping our employees safe. The reason why I bring that up is because every week we're talking about our plan B and our contingency plan. And what concerns me is now we're at a place where it feels like everyone's made their minds up and it's too late to open the pool. And I feel like that's a shame, because we could have filled the pool like many of these pools have done in the area, made the maintenance checks, and worked towards a goal, knowing that these laws and really the evolution of what's happening with COVID was changing, right? And I've heard, I know when I talked to one of the commissioners, I heard that people weren't coming out and doing that work, and that's simply not true. We've seen other pools in Metro Detroit be filled. We've seen private pools, public pools, and country clubs be filled. What saddened me was that we made that decision, but yet there was no community outreach. There was no survey that went out, and there was really nobody that asked residents for feedback. And that's really what makes, I think, our community special. And I think we are half the size of Huntington Woods, like other people have mentioned. And I find it concerning that I'm hearing that the recreation manager for Huntington Woods is making comments on our pool page about why we shouldn't open. That concerns me. It really does. I know we all care deeply for our children and we want to keep them safe, but are we forcing our residents to go to the pool if we open the pool? Do you have to go? No, you don't. Do you have to lifeguard? No. And I agree with, I think, whoever the coach was, that there are plenty of people in Metro Detroit right now that are unemployed that would be thrilled to have a job lifeguarding at the pool, and that are certified or can get recertified. So we are adults on this call, but this is really about the children of this neighborhood and keeping them safe. I get that, and we may be too far gone. But what I don't want to see is that we go into 2021, things don't change, right? Or like we're hearing a lot of it, things could spike again and go back down. And we're in the same position where none of the residents have been surveyed, and we may hear again, oh, we're closing the pool. So it has been concerning, and I am concerned about just the influence of Huntington Woods. I'm just looking at my notes here because a couple of people made some very good comments. Sorry about that. That was the one thing we did to cheer up the kids, was rescue a dog. I just want to echo again, what makes this community so special is the residents. But I think, Tom, you made a great point. Tim and I, you guys, we're at the pool 6 days a week all summer long. We go, can you tell her to shut up? We go every night after dinner, okay? And we are there every Saturday and Sunday. And with all due respect, I would say maybe how many 500 residents in this community use this pool? On every Saturday and Sunday, it's 70% guests. It's non-residents using our pool. So if we're really talking about who is a resident, who's a tax-paying citizen that's attending the pool, it's kind of a different conversation. It really is. And And I know some people are weighing in, but I have to ask, are these people that are saying close the pool on Facebook, have they ever even been to the pool? Do they come to the pool? Do they volunteer their time? Have they served on any of the boards? Like a lot of these people on this call that are very hardworking. I served for 8 years on the rec commission and truly would do anything to have more, I guess, more stuff for our kids to do safely, because for every parent right now, this has been extremely tough. This has been very, very tough these last couple of months. My kids, like most of your kids, have been locked in their house. And so we really do count on this. It's a shame. I can tell you guys have made your mind up, but this, we have to have a plan for next year. We have to have a contingency plan. And I just wanted to make sure that my voice was heard, and that also this is not a personal thing, because I've heard, I'm purposely not on Facebook, guys, but it gets me really mad when people are like, oh, poor Shawnee. I'm like, Shawnee, I love Shawnee. I'd do anything for you, Shawnee. Like I said, my kids love you. But it's about, this part is about the pool, my kids' sanity, and the fact that I justify my tax payment here every month because of this pool. That's why I'm here, right? It's for all of you, this community, and the pool.
Thank you, Christine.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we have, it looks like Sean Campbell again.
Hey, it's Megan. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
I just wanted to speak up and say that I support that the pool be closed this summer, especially because there would only be an abbreviated season. I have just a couple things that I wanted to say. I do appreciate all of the research that was put into the presentation today. I thought it was very thorough, and it was really good information to have to think about, especially just every year with the pool. So a couple things. I think that because we have so few things that are available to us right now as parents, so few tools, what I've seen, and I've been like many people, I've been spending a lot of time indoors with my kids. But when I have ventured out to, say, go to a park or dare go to the beach, what I'm seeing is I'm not seeing little use. I'm seeing overuse. If you go to a beach, if you go down to Belle Isle Beach on a Thursday, it looks like the 4th of July. So I don't think that this summer, if the pool was open for those 3 or 4 weeks, I don't think you would see the 10% or 20% or even 50% capacity. I think you'd see a lot more. And you're going to see, I think you'd have many issues where the pool could potentially be closed for weeks at a time if there was, God forbid, somebody gets sick or somebody needed to quarantine. So that was my main thing I wanted to say. My second thing I wanted to say is that back in the day, I was a lifeguard, not in this area, but up in northern Michigan in a community pool. And I'll tell you what, I wouldn't sign up to be a lifeguard in a pandemic. And there is no amount, I have 2 small boys, and I know there's a lot of really dedicated parents around here that would do their best to organize, but the training that is required of a lifeguard, both in first aid and CPR and how to deal with somebody in emergency, that is something that that's what we trust our lifeguards to do. And so I personally would not feel comfortable taking my children to the pool this year, nor would I encourage anybody else to take their kids to this pool this year. And if it were open, I would be afraid that the taxpayers of this city would be paying for a very few amount of families to be able to use it this year. And I don't think that's fair to all of the residents. So with all that, I just wanted to say I support the pool continuing to be closed for this year. And I really hope, and I know I have every confidence in the city and recreation department that if we're still in this boat again in 2021, that you guys will have a great plan leading us in through next year so that we can have the pool open. So thank you.
Thank you, Megan.
Thank you.
We have, let's see, we've got Chief Nowak and Tom McAvoy with their hands raised. Chief, I'm going to come to you after we hear from Tom again.
Thank you, Jim. By the way, 77 Oakdale, I didn't mention my address earlier, and I just had a follow-up after we went through, and I appreciate everyone's comments. Just to be, I'm not 100% sure that we do have a plan if the pool opens to mitigate traffic, correct?
Do we have a plan to mitigate traffic?
To limit traffic. That was already discussed on this call, correct?
Right, we would probably.
The reservation system.
Reservation.
Yeah, we were.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure that was, and then there isn't going to be a refund. I know that there was mentioned that there was potentially a $35 refund if we don't open the pool, but that wasn't agreed that was going to happen if the pool doesn't open, correct?
Correct. What we pointed out was that we would probably make some capital improvements and upgrades with that money.
I don't think anyone on this call is asking for a refund. And then the last thing was, when will the final decision be made? Are you going to hash through all this, or is there still room for discussion? I really liked some of the thoughts of the residents that, a survey, I know we've done surveys in the past and I think they've been great, the LEAF survey and others. And so I think that's a potential. I know, where the council is chosen and they're ultimately going to make the decision, but just a thought about that. When is the decision going to be made? The final.
Thanks, Tom. The decision really needs to be made tonight. And that's just because if so the question about surveying, and I'll get to that in a minute. If we take another week to do a survey on this, then we're another week behind. And, the further we go, the harder it gets to get the pool open in time. So tonight, really, the decision is going to be made for staff to continue trying to work to open the pool, to work through these issues, or to just call it off for this year, and we'll get ready to come back next year strong. We did talk about doing a survey with the commission before about whether that would be useful. And usually we do surveys when there's a choice, when we have a few different ways we can go on something. In this case, we with Shawnee and Greg and all the other pool operators in Oakland County dealing with these same issues. Public input is important, and we do very much value the contributions. However, a survey would not have changed the course of this discussion. We continued working, and we have a plan in place that we will work to open the pool this year. A survey, would have told us how many residents may or may not have, wanted to see the pool open. But really what it comes down to is trying to open the pool under these circumstances and in a limited manner worth it? Is it worth taking on the risk, which may be greater or lesser now than it was before? But as we open up the state, it may be greater in a month than it is right now. So the risk is an ever moving target that, no one has a crystal ball to know exactly where that's going to be, but there's going to be risk for a while. And then the other part of it is, can we effectively, and efficiently open the pool for a meaningful amount of time? So with those considerations, a survey, we didn't really think would affect the discussion that the commission would have to have on this. And, I fully understand if you disagree with that, but we'd like to do surveys when the survey give us actionable information. And in this case, it really wouldn't have changed the facts around the discussion that we're having. It's really Shawnee and Greg's recommendation, and then the commission's willingness to go along. So next,
Jim, if I may just add a note to what you said. I think there's the thought that the work that Shawnee put in was to find out how to close the pool or how to keep it closed, when in fact, all of the work that she did was really to understand what it would take to open it and what constraints would be applied when the pool is open. I think it's very important to stress that. There was all of this work, I think we're up to 400 some odd hours of work has been put into understanding what it would be like if the pool were to open, and this is where we've landed. There might be other things that we can consider, but this is the best scenario that we've come up with based on all of the work that we put in and all of the constraints that we have, and the best guidance that we have from other pool operators around the nation. So this is what we have. And so I think the question we're left with is, well, there are two. The first is, do we believe that this operation could be safe for residents? That's one question. And then secondly, is it an enjoyable experience for everyone if you have 90 minutes and maybe you get 4 times this year to swim, because we have many residents that will use the pool, but only so much time in the day will be open and available for people to use the pool. So we've wrestled with those questions, and this is what has brought us here tonight.
Any chance you can hear me?
Okay, so wait, who was that?
That was me again. I appreciate what you said, Brett. Thank you. But going back, Shawnee, this work is phenomenal. I know how hard it is, and 10 weeks, 400 hours. It's an amazing amount of work you put. But with all due respect, Brett, that's the residents are making the decision whether it's going to be enjoyable. And we're saying 4 days for the summer. That's 4 days that my kids will remember very fondly. And no one has to go to the pool if you don't want to go to the pool, for sure. And with all of the discussion of volunteering, with all due respect, again, in the past is the past. We're not talking about not opening the pool. We're not talking about any of that. We're not worried about that. We haven't even gotten to the point where we're opening it and we're already saying it's only going to be open for 3 days or whatever. If we do get it open, maybe it stays open a week longer because of this. Because maybe kids don't go back to school and the lifeguards don't have to rush back like the normal shutdown mandates. So that's the discussion that we're having. And I most of the residents on this call are saying 4 days would be worth it. So I'm sorry just for speaking for anyone.
No problem. Thanks.
I know the lifeguard issue. I know that's a huge challenge, but again, look, guys, it's clear we may be too far gone, right? We didn't fill the pool. We're going to have issues, but to assume that we can only hire kids in our neighborhood is naive to the fact that there are tons of people looking for jobs right now. So we do have options. And again, I'm acknowledging that we may be too far gone, but we are adults, and the experience and how much we enjoy it is up to us and our kids. And again, nobody would be forcing anybody to go to the pool if they don't want to go to the pool. I'll be there, but nobody else has to go if they don't want to go. And again, on a normal week, guys, speaking as somebody that's there 6 days a week, I can go on a Wednesday night and there's sometimes 4 or 5 families there. And again, I just want to note, I served on the rec commission for 8 years. Saturdays and Sundays, which hopefully is a challenge we'll tackle next year, it's 70% guests at the pool. So that's a tough pill to swallow when you're making sacrifices and paying the taxes to live here because of the pool.
And can I just reiterate on top of that? I mean, I guess what I'm not understanding is how we're not progressing to open the pool in terms of doing maintenance and repairs as it stands. That needs to happen regardless of whether we end up opening it up to the residents, because how do we know what repairs need to be made for next year or what we're dealing with this year when it's still tarped? I mean, I feel like we have to create a scenario where we're at least doing the due diligence of maintaining this pool anyways, and it doesn't cost us a dime more or less really to do that. So again, I just feel like all this time, and right now, we could be prepping this. We could be taking steps towards doing the regular maintenance and the repairs anyways, and then that would set the tone for being able to open this up once we get more information from the organizations and the health, organizations that are saying every day that things are improving, things are getting better. So I just, again, talk about fluidity, talking about, being adaptable to the situation. I think we owe that to ourselves as a community to do that. That's my opinion.
We have a new comment. I don't know who it is. It's Samsung SMG 950U.
Hello.
Yes.
Hello.
Can you say your name? Can you say your name and address, please?
Hello. Yeah, my name is Luke Samurai. I live on 3 Woodside Park Boulevard, Pleasant Ridge, Michigan, on the west side. Can you see me right now?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Sorry, I'm on my mom's phone. Okay. So I'm just gonna start this off by saying that I'm 13 and you guys are adults. You know a lot more than me. But I just want to start this off by saying that I think coming from a kid, the most important thing here is something to consider is mental health. Because just during this quarantine, personally, I'm a swimmer, competitive swimmer. I know what it's like to be out of the water. I know what it's like to not, I mean, the pool personally for me is like, I've grown up with it. It's been like my thing. It's just, it's like such a huge part of living in Pleasant Ridge and such a huge part of just my summer, being there with my friends, going off the diving board, practicing for like meets there, the swim team, all of that. It's just been such a huge part. And I think again, everything that you have all said, I understand it. I see all sides, and I understand Shawnee's doing everything in her power to do the best for our community. But I think one of the most important things here is just understanding that these kids, like, they need to be able to experience something like that, some fun in the summer. They need to be able to see their friends, because now I've been seeing like a lot of other clubs. Like I see a lot of other clubs that are opening up. I see like I know Beechwood is opening up. There's a few other clubs. I think Surf's opening up. Cranbrook's another one of them. And it's just, I don't know. I was listening to Chris speak, Chris Budnick. I know you're talking about like the lifeguarding, and I can tell you, I go to U of D in down in Detroit, and I can tell you, like, there are so many high school U of D boys who I'm sure would like love the extra money just to lifeguard. And to be honest, I heard someone say, like, just in our city, like, there's a lot of people, but so many people outside of our city, I'm sure in Ferndale, just all around. Me personally knowing, coming from like, I know that there's a lot of high schoolers out there who wouldn't mind making a lot of extra or a little extra money during the summer. And I don't know. It's just growing up. It's been a huge part of the summer, and I'm sure there are so many ways, these possible ways that we could like work around this, even if it is only for a month. These kids need to get in the water. They need to be able to do something. They need to be able to enjoy their summer somehow. You know, I mean, I understand like for the safety or wellness of and health is always most important, but like I heard a lot of people saying, like, if you don't feel comfortable going to the pool, you don't have to go to the pool. And again, I see all sides of like health and everything, but if you don't feel comfortable going, if you don't feel comfortable going in an environment that has been approved by Governor Whitmer, and we already know, like, she closed down the state for like 3 months. Like, she's taken full precautions on everything. It's not like she's just loosey goosey. Like 3 months, the whole state was shut down. So not only was it approved by Governor Whitmer, so many pools. Also, I heard another person say Oakland, whatever approved it. Oakland County approved it. It's like I'm really like starting to like, again, I know what the city and Shawnee and the mayor and everyone wants what's best for us, but at the same time, like, you also have to consider like the mental health of people, the tradition, the and like different possibilities around this, like just bringing the community together. And I don't know, I think there would be there would be a way where we could like work around the whole COVID thing. like, again, I really thought the idea of like 2-hour blocks was a good possibility, like block times, because it gives people time, but like not too much. But yeah, I just thought I was just listening to this. You all bring up a lot of really good points from both sides of the story, and I just wanted to say something and really be included. So thank you for listening to me. Again, only 13, but I thought I just wanted to speak a little bit into this, and yeah, thank you guys.
Luke, thank you for voicing your opinion as a citizen in Pleasant Ridge.
Thank you.
Yeah, shout out to you, Luke. Way to step up and speak your mind. Good
Thank
for you.
I
Thanks,
appreciate
Luke.
it. Yeah, no problem. Thank you.
Luke, you the man.
And as a parent of 2 kids myself, I fully understand the mental health thing as we've lost travel soccer and dance and all the other things. I know we're all going a little bit nuts right now with
Yeah.
that every single day along with you guys. So I know that. All right, we have 1 hand raised left. So let's turn it over to Chief Nowak, who's been waiting very, very patiently as I put everyone in front of him. So go for it, Chief.
Good evening, everybody. I hope you can hear me. First, it's refreshing to see so many people taking the time to be involved in their community and care what goes on. It doesn't happen in all other communities. Pleasant Ridge is very unique in that respect. I'm just going to comment on a couple of the safety things that I thought were important. There were many ideas posed. I heard a lot of volunteering and stuff, and I wrote notes down as people were talking, and it's hodgepodge all over. So bear with me a minute. I'm going to have to read all my notes here. The first thing I want to talk about was like a little bit of the safety issue. I have friends and relatives and colleagues that are doctors who tell me they're still learning a lot about this virus. They learn something new every day. It affects different things. Now it's attacks the blood and stuff, and many people know that, but they're seeing a lot of heart attack and stroke issues and stuff. So we're still not out of the woods yet, although numbers have gone down. I would ask that if we like move forward more, get some more medical opinions, because your safety is number one, and if the community gets sick, then it affects everybody's safety that goes to the pool as well as that live in the community. I heard a lot of comments about everybody being locked in the house and cooped up with their kids, and I felt it too. I've been there. I'm with you. I'll share just a quick experience that lends to what could happen here. So my youngest daughter was a senior at Divine Child and obviously missed prom, spring break, graduation, things like that. So Divine Child decided to plan a big senior parade. All the seniors, their parents, met in the senior parking lot, and they're going to do a parade around city of Dearborn. That was all fine and dandy, and they stressed social distancing and masks and everything else. But imagine 250 students that hadn't seen each other for 6 or 8 weeks and weren't going back to school, as well as their parents who weren't seeing each other at mass or at any of the gatherings or the dances where they chaperone and stuff. And you could tell who were the first responders or doctors or nurses, because they had masks and things like that. But when everybody got together in the parking lot, it was a free-for-all. Hugging, kissing, socializing, no distancing whatsoever, and it went right out the window. So the concern would be, can the staff at the pool manage social distancing? And then how are you going to enforce it really if it's not? I know the families would be there together, but again, a lot of you had said have been cooped up. You're going to see friends, people you haven't shared time with or seen or whatever. That could be an issue that needs to be discussed. One of the other things that was brought up was cameras. I believe Mr. McAvoy commented on donating a Nest or the several cameras or whatever. I would just propose that could pose a privacy issue. And I see Greg Neat, the city attorney, on there. He could speak to that maybe need be, because that would lead into the next thing of people volunteering, which is admirable. I love volunteers. It makes people's lives easier when people volunteer to help. However, as a coach and everything of kids sports all going on, I know that I had to attend numerous classes and get background checks and all that other stuff. So I don't know what liability, I know I've heard that discussed, that poses of having people that are volunteering, maybe monitoring the pool or as a lifeguard or anything. Have they been clearly background checked, vetted? What classes do they have to attend maybe to do that as a lifeguard or a volunteer? And I don't even know if those are possible leading into the time frame that you're talking about. Lastly, I received a phone call this morning from a high-ranking Huntington Woods official. That person had heard rumors that we were talking about the pool tonight at the workshop and at the meeting here tonight, because they don't know what they're going to do for sure, although they had no plans yet to open. So I know that I've heard comments that we're basing things on what Huntington Woods, when conversely, they're actually looking at what we're going to do tonight to maybe make a decision too. So I don't think any definitive plans have been made. I just would add that everybody's health and safety is number one. God forbid somebody contract the coronavirus at the pool. Shawnee presented in slides and everything the immense amount of work that's going to go into cleaning and training and everything else for it. I would love to see the pool open, but as my number one concern is for the community's safety and health, I just pose is it all worth it? And that's up to you guys to decide. But is it worth it for one person maybe to get it? And that's all I have.
Thank you, Chief. And we have no more hands raised. And so we're about an hour and 15 minutes in here. We have one comment that came in from email that Amy forwarded to me. So I'll read that into the record now, and then we'll send it back to the commission for discussion. We have the comment from Jay Foreman, who some of you may know. And his address is somewhere on Oakdale. He didn't include it in the email. But Jay says it's too risky for this year and not worth all the effort for the brief window and minimal payout. We should focus on prepping for a successful pool season next year. We all want it to be open, but we'll all live through this difficult season without it. Tough call, and many will be unhappy either way, but that's why they're paying us the moderate bucks. So thank you. And with that, Mr. Mayor, I turn everything back over to you.
Thank you so much, Jim. Okay, so are any commissioners have any comments?
Thank you, Mayor. This is Ann. Let's see. The comments are interesting because I believe there's no doubt if the pool opens, people, regardless of the different rules and regulations, people will be able to have fun. It just, our residents seem to be able to really always figure it out. But my feeling on this, or it's not even feeling, it's the work that Shawnee and Greg have presented to us over the past couple months has really proven out to me the safety concerns. And, it's safety not only, and I understand everybody has their own risk factors that, they're the acceptable risk for themselves and for their kids. And I respect that. But it also gets into us being liable as a city and as commissioners that I don't want, to add that risk. I mean, this coronavirus there are so many unknowns, and I think you guys have all made some good points that we're going to know a lot more in a little bit. I was talking to one of our residents who's a doctor, and she was saying, they're learning more every day. And, but it is definitely, that us all staying separate has kept us all very, has really helped these numbers improve in drastic amounts. My comfort level, though, is I don't want to put the staff at risk. I don't want to put, not only the lifeguards, but also Greg and Shawnee and, the staff as a whole. I mean, because I think that on top of accepting the risk for residents by opening the pool, I think I'm not comfortable with that. But that's all I have to say. Thanks, Mayor.
Yes, thank you, Ann. Other comments?
Yeah, I just want to make one comment. I just really do appreciate everyone's comments, and this is tough. I mean, this is a really tough decision. And I said it before and I'm going to say it again. I am somebody who goes to the pool all the time. My child is suffering. And I work in the healthcare industry. I work for Blue Cross and I listen to statistics all day long. We talk about, what's going on, daily updates. And it's just, for me, there's too many unknowns from a risk standpoint of which way it's going, what can happen, and putting people at risk. And that's, for me, that's the bottom line, is our community safety. But I'm certainly on board with looking to next year. I don't know how everyone's going to, looking to next year to be 100% prepared as much as we can possibly be prepared to have a great experience. Thank you.
Anyone else? I wanted to make my comments only that people know that I do enjoy the pool, and this has been a very difficult. I was very much supporting the pool. Then the governor came up with the all pools closed, and I started talking with Greg and Shawnee about what they were finding out. Started looking at other pools that were closing. And yes, there's anybody can come up with a list of pools that are going to open, but we can come up with a bigger list of pools that are going to be closed. So for every open pool, we can find a closed pool. We can play that game all summer long. I agree. I'm not willing to take a chance on the health of our residents. I would certainly not go to the pool. As much as I enjoy it, I could not go over there with the restrictions and the way it's going to be set up and just general fear. And I'm in that age group of the ones that are dying. So I'm gonna stay home. But I can't, as much as I would like to say, yes, let's try to figure out how we're going to get volunteers and how we're going to try to pull in lifeguards from elsewhere and how we're going to put in all the safety measures that we have to put in. I think for the summer of 2020, we just cannot open, and that we should just plan for next year. I'm sorry we didn't do a survey. We could have done a survey, but I'm not quite sure what questions we would have asked at the time. And certainly once the announcement was that pools were going to be closed, there wasn't much point of asking residents whether they wanted their pool open. So with everything I've heard, I really appreciate the thoughtful discussion, and I'll leave it at there.
Mr. Mayor, can I say one more thing?
Yes, please.
So at the beginning of each pool season, there's documents that I have to sign with my name on it to prove that our pool is safe for the public to swim. This year, in good confidence, I could not sign that.
Not confidence, conscience.
And it's not because it's a popular or unpopular vote. It's just I care more about the community and their safety. I see some people saying, oh, you care more about my kid than I do. I don't believe that. I care about everybody in the nation. It's just not a feasible thing, and I'm not willing to put my professional and personal name on something that I don't support. And I would have to do that opening the pool, and that
if we can get in over there.
It's not right to have to put somebody or the city at liability for that. It's not safe. I can't confidently check off this 3-page list to prove that this pool is safe and reliable for people to swim in it.
I really appreciate those comments, Shawnee. And I think, as have been said by numerous people, they have all the love and respect for you that you could possibly ask. And I would hope that they would take your recommendations to heart, that you're thinking of them. They know how much you care for them and their children, and that this is strictly what you're thinking of them in making this decision. This is not something to ease your time during the summer, or just because it's an easier thing to do, or because we didn't fill the pool last month or whatever. This is a very serious decision that you made, and I think I respect that decision, and I'm following your lead. So
thank you. I appreciate your support.
Hey guys, it's me again. Listen, I can tell everyone's made their minds up. and I can see the direction that we're going in. Shawnee, again, it's so clear how much you love the kids and how much respect we have for your job. Let's take this and spin it in a positive way then. I have to say, I mean, I think if we can make a plan to safely open then next summer, let's do something special to welcome back the residents of this neighborhood to the pool, whether that be putting a kiddie slide in, or I know, Shawnee, you've got some great work going. I'm not in the committee anymore, but on the side of the grass, there are all the things you're working out with the pavilion. But let's do something for the children to welcome them back, and let's have a plan B and a contingency plan, which we should have had, in my opinion, all along. And just to clarify, when I said survey, I meant survey after we had the governor's decision, so that we could make a plan as residents, and be a part of what we saw as an outcome for the summer. I just wanted to be clear on that. I think the mayor mentioned that, of course, we can't opinionate on the governor's laws. I just meant for future planning and contingency plans. But if it's clear everyone's made their mind up on this panel, then let's just make a special welcome back to our kids next summer when we find a way to safely reopen the pool. And let's have the community be involved in that plan, because I don't think anybody here wants to have a closed pool next summer.
No.
No. I think that's a wonderful idea.
It's a great idea.
Yeah.
Excuse me, I'd just like to say one thing. Trying to get in the good light. So I am in 52 Devonshire, and I am also an elementary school teacher. And I'm currently on a committee that is planning for 100% online schooling in the fall. And I know I don't have children, but I work with plenty of teachers that do, and know that it is a concern for them, because with them having to go back to work and their children having to stay home and go to school, that's also addresses some of the concerns of the parents here that said that they've been in their homes with their children all this time, and they want to get out, and they want something to do. And Luke, our 13-year-old cheerleader there, he spoke up about mental health, which is great. I understand that, but I'm thinking about bringing all of the families together in the summer at this pool. If that were to cause some type of spread, would guarantee that I'm teaching from home. And I'm not concerned about myself, but I'm concerned that during the 3 months that we've been home, my very best days have been when it's sunny and I could go out and I could take a break from Zooming with my kids and go out for a breath of fresh air. But the days when it was cold and rainy and cloudy, I personally, as an adult, was miserable. And so many of you are sharing the concern that, you have been home with your children, but now imagine it's September, raining October, and you're still at home with them and also working and also have them online with their teachers at school. So I'm looking, because we have to make a decision for schools, during the time that we're in the pool. And so I just want, you to think long-term about the mental health of your children, and also, the effects of this leading into the fall. So
Can I dovetail on that real quickly? That's a really good point that you bring up. However, there are a lot of districts who are already calling it to be online schooling in the fall, and this is a totally separate subject, so I won't get into the nuts and bolts of it.
Public comment is done, and thank you, everyone. I appreciate it, but we're not going to get into a discussion of schools right now.
No, I'm not trying to. What I'm trying to say is that I think it's all the more reason for our kids to have something. They have nowhere to go. No one can get into the zoo. Museums are barely even opening. There's nowhere for anyone to go. So I think, again, I guess to Christine's point, y'all have made up your mind, but I think it needs, I'm sorry. I think it's based on personal revelations that just are not being considered in terms of making assumptions and decisions for my family that don't apply. But that's just my opinion. So never mind.
Okay, well. Jim, you there? Oh.
I'm here.
Okay. I think we're going to move for a motion. If we have a motion on the floor. Would somebody?
Your Honor,
Yes.
I move that the City Commission confirm the closure of the Pleasant Ridge Community Pool for the 2020 pool season.
Is there support?
I support.
Is there any further discussion on the commission side? All right, Amy, can we have a vote, please?
Commissioner Perry,
Yes.
Commissioner Scott,
Yes.
Commissioner Budnick,
No.
Commissioner Wall,
Yes.
Mayor Metzger.
Yes, motion carries. Thank you all for the discussion. And we'll move on to the item called public discussion, items not on the agenda. Is there any other issues? Not school closings, but other issues that might. No items? Okay. Then let's move on to governmental reports. I think we have the chief. Chief, would you?
My button wouldn't unmute, Mayor. Sorry.
Oh, sure.
Okay, I just have I had to make sure I got the right notes. Don't discuss the same things again. Just a couple quick things being with things opening up in spring, things like that. These are all pretty much just code enforcement topics that we've been getting a lot of complaints on. So I know it's like the season of construction and there's always construction going on in Pleasant Ridge. We're getting a lot of calls on checking that somebody doesn't have a permit or things like that. So whether your contractor's doing the work or you as a homeowner are pulling the permit or whatever, if you don't know if you need a permit, call the city and ask, and they'll be happy to tell you whether you need a permit or not to do the work or your contractor needs the work to get done. And then those are posted, obviously visible from the street, so everybody knows that you have a permit to do the work yet. Secondly, we get a lot of complaints about the garbage cans. Either out too early, like days or weeks early. I get sometimes people go on vacation, they call and say, hey, is it okay? And I'm like, I'd rather that not if a neighbor could take it out. And believe it or not, I've gone and taken some people's garbage cans out if no one would do it for them. But they have to go out no sooner than 6 p.m. on Sunday for Monday collection. And they have to be removed from the curb by noon on Tuesday, because then we get calls and complaints about the garbage cans are still Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. I know those are trivial, but to the people that live next door to those people, that's the biggest thing that's going on in their life. So we have to treat it as such. So let's try to do that. Finally, addressing lawns. I don't know how many calls I'm getting because we're writing just warning notices, not tickets or anything to people, because we're sympathetic. Sometimes my lawn gets higher because I'm at work or it rained or whatever, and the lawn grows. Grass cannot exceed 8 inches in height. Now, many people have called saying, hey, I have a lawn service and they haven't been out. And I know they're behind or whatever. So I'd ask that if you could borrow a lawnmower from your neighbor, do it yourself. If you're physically unable to, or you can't, I would hope the neighbor would volunteer. If not, call me. I'll make arrangements so that I can come out or somebody else to come and cut your grass, because that's why we're here. And I just wanted to say with that if helping someone isn't what we do in their time of need, and that's why I think we're in the position we are in our current environment, the state of affairs in our country. So take a step back, breathe, see what you can do to help one another, help your neighbor, and I think we'll all be better off for that. And that's all I have for today.
Thanks. I didn't realize that you provide lawn service. So
I shoveled snow, taken out garbage cans, and done lawns. Leafs are not in my wheelhouse, but I want to try.
It's good to know. Thank you, Chief. I think next online is Brett. Is that true?
It is. the city of Pleasant Ridge has put together a statement to respond to one of our current events, and it's been a spring and an early, I guess, a year of current events, I suppose. This one is about George Floyd, and we've heard this story in the news of the last couple of weeks. And it's unusual for us to write a statement about something, but this is such a momentous thing that's happening. We thought we'd put together some words around it, not only to express our sense around diversity and the management of racial bias, but also to help people understand what we are doing, because I think that's important to be able to say what we do and what makes Pleasant Ridge good as part of what we do. So what I'll do is read the statement. You'll find this on our website as well if you'd like to read it afterwards, and then we'll move on to the next topic. Pleasant Ridge, the Pleasant Ridge City Commission and police condemn the senseless and heartbreaking killing of George Floyd. This and other related incidents have sparked an unprecedented call for reform across the nation to address systemic bias and racism. The killings of George Floyd, Ahmaud Arbery, Breonna Taylor, and so many others are a testament to the distance we still must travel in our efforts to break down bias. We take this opportunity to honor those lost lives and to express our continued commitment to provide exemplary law enforcement free of racial bias and ready to meet the moment. Pleasant Ridge has always placed a high importance on our police department. In turn, our police have long been accountable, fair, and capable in the discharge of their duties. The actions documented on video in the George Floyd incident have not, are not, and will not be taught, endorsed, or tolerated by the Pleasant Ridge Police. Our police policies are regularly updated to ensure that our officers demonstrate the highest professionalism. In keeping with modern practices, our police wear body cameras, and all interactions with the public are recorded. Our use of force policy requires de-escalation of force consistent with the level of resistance from the subject. Medical treatment must be offered whenever the subject requests or complains of injury or pain, or when the officer observes the subject to be injured. All use of force incidents require formal report and review by the Chief of Police. While we are confident that our training and policies, we are confident in our training and policies, the Pleasant Ridge Police have used this incident as a moment to reflect upon how we can be better tomorrow than we were today. We are reviewing our policies and will add language to explicitly prohibit the use of outdated control techniques. We will increase our training work to increase the classes that officers must take on de-escalation, proper restraint and hold techniques, implicit bias, cultural competency, and communication techniques. We will also work to make our commitment to fair, capable, and accountable community policing visible to our residents, our neighboring communities, and to others who travel through our city. Finally, we will review our hiring practices to ensure that we are compliant with the best practices to screen out bad apples so that they cannot be hired in Pleasant Ridge. In short, it is not acceptable for us that anyone experience discrimination or oppression in Pleasant Ridge. We as a city and as a country must work with honest intent to remove these inequities so that everyone, regardless of race, religion, color, creed, or sexual orientation, have the freedom to pursue happiness equally and without bias. We celebrate diversity and are committed to support and participate in the fight to eliminate systemic bias against African Americans and all minority ethnic groups. And again, you'll be able to find this on our website, and of course, we're always welcome to comments.
Thank you, Brett. Thanks very much. I don't know if anybody had any comments about that before we move on.
I have a comment. I could.
Thank you. Okay.
Thank you, Brett, for that statement. I saw the statement online, and my question is about the part where you mentioned the training. Specifically, take courses on de-escalation, proper restraint, hold techniques, implicit bias, and cultural competency and communication. Will that, the training materials that the police department go through be available for public review?
You want to grab that, Jim? You want me to grab it?
Kevin's on mute. Oh, I thought he might be talking.
I unmuted myself. I didn't know if the city manager wanted me to comment or he was going to comment on that first.
Oh, okay.
So I'll ask.
Kevin, why don't you go for it? You can tell them about the virtual academy we have.
Okay, so a little background. In the past, there were many classes available at local colleges and police academies that offered training. As budgets have dwindled and things have happened, less and less classes have been made available. Also, many of the funding in law enforcement was made available at MCOLS, which is the Michigan Coalition of Law Enforcement Standards. They would give money per department based on the amount of officers you had, and that amount of money has dwindled. And I think at the highest point, it was only in the high $300, and as of this year, it was $72 per officer per year. Most police classes cost $250 starting at and up. And that's typically for a 1 or 2, maybe a 3-day class, but the higher you get, the more it is. So in 2018, and Sergeant Reed is on here as well, my right-hand man, he did research into all these different things because we wanted to seek out other forms of training that we best could utilize, especially in being in Pleasant Ridge in a small community with limited funding. And he found an online training facility called Virtual Academy that offers not only those classes that were listed there that were included in the statement, but numerous other classes. I can't speak to say if the Virtual Academy would allow that class to be published for other people to see. I will check into that and get back with you, Mr. McAvoy, and find that out. Sergeant Reed could unmute. He may know the answer to that already since he did all the research on it. But we also strive to look for classes. Now, I know the state voted recently on demanding better training for stuff, so maybe we'll see more funding for that. I think if more and more people would call their representatives and senators and ask for that, because I welcome the more training you can get, the better it is. I'm in year 40 of law enforcement now, and we used to go to training all the time back in the 80s and 90s. Yes, I'm that old for some of you people watching right now, snickering. But it's gotten less and less as the funding has dwindled and been made available. So we, like I said, we sought out on our own in 2018 as a chance to better ourselves without being made to do by any legislators or anything else, to provide this community and our officers with as much training as we could get and afford. Does that help you?
Yeah, thank you, Chief Nowak and Sergeant Reed.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Okay, we will move on to the next item, which is the consent agenda. We have about 7 items. I just wanted to mention 2 and then ask Jim to speak to the last one. One, we have a resolution recognizing June as Gay Pride Month and a proclamation recognizing June as Immigrant Heritage Month. So we just want to make sure we're not going to read those, but they are in the packet and available online. And Jim, I wanted you to get the credit for the street sweeper purchase. If you could talk about that.
Yes, thank you. This is something that I would characterize as a small bet. We're taking a chance here. Street sweepers are extremely expensive. If you're going to buy one new, it's these days it's a $220,000 piece of equipment. And for Pleasant Ridge, that never ever makes sense to be able to purchase that. That would be more than our almost entire DPW budget for the entire year. And right now we contract that service out for about $10,000 a year is what we spend on street sweeping. Now, we don't get the level of service I think that we would like the contracting process. It works, and we get the job done, but it could be done better. We just can't afford the equipment to do it ourselves. So we have the opportunity now to purchase a used street sweeper from the city of Hazel Park. Tim, our DPW director, knows the DPW directors and DPW staff from around the area, and they have this old sweeper that they don't need anymore. It's a 1998 model. It's a Pelican. I can just really quickly show it here. And we're proposing a purchase price for that for not to exceed $10,000. So that's what the guy looks like.
Ooh.
Yeah. So
Jerry's
when I
not
say
so good in that.
now, I want to be clear.
Great deal. Jim,
I want to be clear. Yeah. Thank you, Amanda. This is not the actual one we're buying. This is just the same model. The one we're buying is in a little bit better shape than this one. But yeah, it's, we think it has some life left in it. It's been maintained by the city of Hazel Park. Tim has been over and looked at it. They just put new brushes on it. So when I say that this is a small bet, you never know with a piece of equipment like this that's 20 years old. We could have a diesel motor go out. There's a $15,000 repair in 10 months. But we're spending less on buying this piece of equipment than we spend on street sweeping for 1 year. So even if we get a year out of it and Tim can then do the street sweeping himself, our goal is to increase the quality of service we can offer. And, as we settle in and get used to this, this would even allow us to set a set date. That right now we're beholden to the contractor. They can't always keep the same date or regular schedule. We kind of get them when they're available. Buying this equipment, Tim can do it, and we can say fourth Tuesday. I don't know if that's a day. Street sweeping is happening. Get your cars off the street, please, because that's always the challenge. So we'll see. If this thing breaks down, we're not out much. We have $15,000 in the capital outlay line in the DPW budget that we have not spent this year. So this falls right in line there. And we hope that this works out and gives us years of service and we can improve that service delivery to the residents. That's what we have on that one.
Very cool. Okay. Are there any comments or questions before I ask for a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Can I drive it?
It's rear wheel steering, so good luck.
I want to see you on it, Chris. Should be good. Okay, may I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Mayor, may I make a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Yes, you may.
Thanks.
Is there support?
Support.
Can we have a vote, please, Amy? Amy? Oh, Amy!
I think she's muted.
We've lost Amy.
Talking.
There it is.
Commissioner Wall,
Yes.
Commissioner Budnick,
Yes.
Commissioner Perry,
Yes.
Commissioner Scott,
Yes.
Mayor Metzger.
Yes. Motion carries. Okay, the next item on the agenda, fiscal year 2020-2021 combined city budget and the 2020-2021 millage rates. We have both a public hearing and then we will have a motion to approve. So Jim, can you give us a little bit of background?
Sure, a little bit.
Just a little bit, right?
I think he needed more
Just a little
slides than Shawnee.
Nope.
We got plenty of information last time, so.
Okay. Real quickly, the 2021 proposed millage rates this year for the current year, 21.4120. Starting July 1, 2020, the proposed millage rate is 21.4531. And this, excuse me, is the combined city rate. The reason for the increase is the continued phase-in of the police pension millage, which phases in at 0.35 mils per year. This is year 3 out of 4 for that phase-in. Here you have detail on the millage rates over the years, and you can see where the police pension millage increases from 1819 through fiscal year 20 and then fiscal year 21. The remainder of the millages decrease as they are rolled back by Headley. Currently this year, we have a millage rollback factor of 0.9855. Property tax revenue growth will be 1.9% per the state limits. We had taxable value growth of 4.3% because of houses selling and becoming uncapped. So that's why the millage rate has to roll back so that we only get 1.9% increase in property tax revenue. Budget highlights. We're planning for state revenue sharing decreases. We're planning a 15% property tax revenue decrease starting in fiscal year 22. That would be the fiscal year following, beginning on July 1, 2021. The reason for this is because COVID has blown a massive hole in the state budget. Schools and local governments and the state and road funding are all very uncertain. I think it was a $6 billion hole. And we don't know how that's going to be filled, if the federal government will provide money to the states to backfill that, or else we're all just going to be hurting. So we've planned for large decreases in state revenue sharing in our budget. The 15% property tax revenue decrease in fiscal year 22, that is about the decrease that we saw from the 2008 recession. And it took a few years to phase in because of the way that municipal property tax assessing works. It takes time for that. That's a lagging process. But we're budgeting for this because we don't know what the economic impacts of COVID are going to be. We're reopening the state now, but we know from past pandemics there's a second and maybe third wave, and we don't know what's coming. So we're being conservative with our estimates. So that large tax revenue decrease also requires spending decreases. And we'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute. The police pension millage phasing in, we are increasing our pension funding. We are at about 50% funded for the whole city, and the police pension fund was at about 45% funded last year. So we have work to do there. And with the police pension millage coming online, we're increasing our funding to try to close that hole over time. And so that's a good thing. But we have made spending reductions in all departments due to these anticipated revenue decreases. So we've used very low revenue estimates, as we talked about, close to worst case. For the coming fiscal year, the budget we're adopting, we have a $56,000 net surplus. We've built in a cushion for the coming fiscal year to handle any unexpected revenue decreases or increased costs to the city for dealing with COVID or anything else. We have that ability with the budget that we're proposing. In fiscal year 22 and 23, we've got a very, very, very small net surplus. Basically, we're presenting a balanced budget for those years with revenue decreases because property tax funding is a very, by far the majority of where Pleasant Ridge gets our funding from. It's over 75% of our total government revenues is property tax. So if that takes a hit, as we're budgeting for, that will be tough. So what we've done is expenditures have been curtailed. No major capital projects are planned after fiscal year 21. The coming year is pretty well stable because of the fact that property tax assessments for this year are set, so we can plan around that. We've got the pavilion projects, which are funded and obligated, and so we're going to finish those at the pool and at Gainsborough Park. But beyond that, we have no major capital projects planned. Wage freezes for staff are budgeted in future years, and infrastructure maintenance expenditures, we've tried to keep those unchanged as possible. We still need to maintain our streets and maintain our infrastructure. We do not want to fall behind there, so we have maintained those expenditures in future year budgets. So we've got millage rate trends. We've seen these graphs before. We don't need to talk about them again, even though they're, colorful. So with that, for public comment, I think we know the drill at this point. We've had a lot of practice tonight with this. So if anyone has any public comments they'd like to make on the budget, the process, raise your hand and we will call with you. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions from the mayor or the commission before or after the public hearing.
No questions? Can I open the public hearing with my cleaver? Okay, no questions for Jim? All right, let's open the public hearing. Anybody with comments? Not so much on the budget. All right, you don't have nothing coming through?
Nope, no one's raised their hands.
Okay, well then I'm gonna
I have
close
a question.
Oh.
Sorry, I couldn't get to the button.
Oh.
I just have one question. The infrastructure
Megan.
I'm sorry, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Sorry, Megan from 58 Sylvan. The infrastructure project that is planned for the Greenway space on Woodward Avenue, is that a project that's going to be, it was the one that we received the grant for? Is that something that's going to be planned to go forward, or is that something that's going to be put on hold?
That project is unchanged. That is actually budgeted and funded in fiscal year 21. So that's coming. I should have mentioned that. That's a good point. Thank you, Megan. That's coming this year. So that will happen as planned. It's everything that happens after this coming year that's very uncertain.
Great. Okay, I guess I prematurely closed the public hearing. Any other questions? All right, well, then I'm going to request a motion to approve the combined city budgets and the millage rates. Is there a motion?
Mayor, I move the 2020 through 2021 combined city budgets be approved and that the budget resolution be adopted, including the levying of 12.6399 mils for the general fund operating, 2.6415 mils for the infrastructure improvements, 1.5084 mils for solid waste and disposal, 0.3 mils for publicity, 0.3564 mils for library services, 1.1199 mils for the community center complex operations, 1.17 mils for the community center complex debt service, 0.6670 mils for the park improvement, and 1.05 mils for the police pension stabilization be approved as recommended.
Well done, Ann. Is there support?
I support.
Any further discussion?
Can I have a quick question for Jim? Okay, so you mentioned some of the, and I think you did a great job of laying out the unknowns sort of and trying to anticipate. Do you feel, I guess I sort of just want to highlight that again, that there are some unknowns coming up in the next year or two, just after this economic thing. Do you feel that this is taking all of that into consideration enough?
Yes.
Okay.
I think so. And, again, this is a 100-year pandemic when none of us have lived or managed or really done anything through this experience before. So we don't know. Using the 2008 recession is the closest analog we could come up with for, something that we thought was a reasonable impact. In the 2008 recession, it took 4 years for that 15% property tax decline to work its way through to the city budget. So we think anticipating all of that hitting next year is probably a worst case scenario for next year. So I'm pretty confident that we're reasonably prepared for what lays before us. But we'll see. There's known unknowns.
I would assume that the biggest issue now is whether the feds actually approve any funding for state and local government.
Correct.
Because if they don't, yes, all bets, nobody knows what's going to happen, right? I mean, even as much planning you can do.
Right.
Right. And I mean, I guess the good news here is the fact that state revenue sharing for Pleasant Ridge has been cut so much that we're not that reliant
go very-
upon it.
Right.
So thanks. But
Yeah.
we're okay there. Really, the schools are what's crisis center number one for the revenue sharing, because so much of their funding comes from the school aid fund, which comes from property or sales taxes, and like some states in Ohio, cities are highly dependent on sales tax. So it's a totally different funding structure for cities, and it works in good times, but they're far more exposed right now. I know a lot of Ohio cities are hurting very badly right now because of the shutdown. Here it's a blessing and a curse that we're 75% reliant on property taxes because of Michigan's funding system, which is broken. But I won't get into that. But it's a more stable, and it kind of smooths out the bumps over time for us being that dependent on local property taxes here. And so we're really less exposed than the vast majority of cities and probably all school districts, and to a lesser extent road funding. So we're in Pleasant Ridge, we're really not in a bad place compared to everyone else on this. So that's something.
That is something. And
thanks, Jim.
Any other questions? All right. Well, Amy, can we have a vote, please?
Commissioner Perry,
Yes.
Commissioner Scott,
Yes.
Commissioner Budnick,
Yes.
Commissioner Wall,
Yes.
Mayor Metzger.
Yes. Motion carries. All right. Next item is the ordinance to amend the Pleasant Ridge City Code Section 62-29, DAS/small cell/wireless facilities in the public rights of way. We will have a public hearing, and Jim, can you give us very little background?
Sure. We talked about this a little bit last month. This is the, I don't know, I guess this is the conspiracy to roll out 5G during the pandemic, right? I guess industry got these laws passed at the federal and state level, which preempt a lot of local regulation around what they call distributed antenna systems or small cell, where now you'll have, instead of the 150-foot tall cell tower kind of spaced out, now they're moving to a more blanket model where they build a lot of 30 and 40-foot tall towers on existing streetlight poles or power utility poles. And local governments are mostly exempted from regulating those. You can't prohibit them. And the latest laws establish a shot clock where once they ask us a question about something, then we've got a certain amount of time, and it's not much, to review their application and basically approve it, because there's very little we can do to deny these. Now, there's a resolution that is included in the packet regarding design standards. There are some limited ones that we can do, given that we are the entire city of Pleasant Ridge is a historic district. But it's again very limited. And Greg Need is available if you have any questions. I don't think we need to go much beyond what I've said. Greg, is there anything you'd add briefly?
No, Jim, I think you've touched on everything. I'll answer any questions anybody has, but it's pretty straightforward. We can't do a lot, and by adopting this, it'll let us regulate to the limited extent we can.
All right. Before we open the public hearing, is there any discussion among the commission? Any questions? Okay, with that, I'm going to open the public hearing. Does anybody want to chime in?
I have no hands raised.
I guess the pool really did it. That just wore them out. All right, well then I'm going to close the public hearing and ask if there's a motion to approve the ordinance.
Your Honor, let's see. I move ordinance 439, amending section 62-29 of the Pleasant Ridge City Code regarding DAS/small cell/wireless facilities in the public rights of way be adopted.
Is there support?
I support.
Any further discussion?
Mayor, like how unsightly do you guys feel these could get? I know that, that we might be able to impose, you said, some design standards.
They're pretty basic. There's not a lot that we can do. We have height limits under state law, but we can kind of regulate the cabinets. We can kind of regulate which poles they go on, but sort of. And there's additional guidance, I think, coming down from the FCC that would even further erode a lot of that. I got emails about today from the local communications, government communications group. So, the bright side is better cell coverage, but the downside is, we may have cell towers on our residential streets.
Would they be able to add poles just for this versus adding them to existing poles?
Probably we'd be able to make them add it to an existing pole, probably. But they probably remove the pole and put in a taller one.
Mm-hmm. And between then and now, the 3G network is being dismantled. So we'll see some additional activity around the removal of hardware that may be somewhere around town.
Right.
Cool. Any other questions? All right. Well, can we have a vote, please, Amy?
Commissioner Perry,
Yes.
Commissioner Scott,
Yes.
Commissioner Budnick,
Yes.
Commissioner Wall,
Yes.
Mayor Metzger.
Yes. Motion carries. Okay, let's move on to the city manager's report. You got anything left, Jim?
I have nothing left.
Mayor?
Yes.
Quick question for Jim. We did get some questions from residents on Woodward Heights about our planned work on road calming. That's still planned for the summer?
It is. This spring has been interesting. We all lost 6 weeks from our normal routines and everything. So we're just trying to get caught up on all of our normal DPW beginning of year. All the things that would be done by now, we're still working on. So we're still working on getting sprinkler systems opened and parks, planted and mulched and everything. So I anticipate that should be wrapping up here in the next couple of weeks. And once that happens, we'll turn our attention to getting those tests in place. So I would expect probably sometime in July, we'll have those test projects running on Woodward Heights.
Great, thank you.
Excellent. Any other questions for Jim? Okay, well then we'll move on to our final item, and that's other business. Any announcements, any other business, anything coming out of any commissions, any other?
I have a couple things.
I knew you would, Amanda. Thank you.
We're doing city's not sponsoring, but residents are driving it. I'm helping out. Johnny O'Neill is organizing it on Facebook, but you can contact me too and I can help you. But so for the people who didn't get to, walk for the graduation ceremony in a traditional way, we're going to be doing it on Ridge Road, Wednesday, the 17th of June at 6:00. We're having, they're having the graduates meet at the community center in cap and gown. And then walking, and we're going to have the names announced, and they're going to walk down one side of Ridge, and the other side of Ridge will be parents and people cheering them on in a social distance way. So if you want to get your graduate involved, or if you're a graduate, please feel free to reach out to me. I can help hook you up with it, because it's going to be really fun, and it's a great way to celebrate the graduates.
It's the 17th at 6:00.
Yeah, Wednesday night at 6:00, community center. The graduates will be social distancing and then walking down one side of Ridge, and then people who are cheering on the other side.
Very good.
Amanda, is it all high school graduates? Or
it's high school graduates. But I'm sure if if somebody else is interested, just, reach out.
How about
And then-
fifth graduation?
The other thing, I have a couple things from the rec that I need to talk about for 1 second. Hold on, let me find it. Sorry, my eyes are starting to
Can I jump in on the historical commission?
jump in.
All right. We did not have a meeting last week. We will have a workshop next, or actually tomorrow. I think it's going to be a Zoom meeting, and we want to resume some of our work around the Then and Now book that we're working on, as well as discuss how to move forward with the museum and other things for the rest of the year. We'll keep everybody posted.
Yay.
Thank you.
Okay, I found my stuff. The yard sale is still scheduled for August 8th. Yard signs will be on sale July 1st. Oakland County Family Scavenger Hunt in July, more details to follow. And something good, the play structures are open, so that's positive. Restrooms are not open. Reminder, it's still social distancing and masks, but at least it's available to the kids to go out and play.
That's great.
Very good. Anybody else have any?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor.
Yes.
I think that if I recall, Governor Whitmer said on 6/15 or after that gyms were allowed to open. And maybe we covered this, but where do we stand on our rec facility or our gym?
Shawnee, you want to take this?
Yeah, we're still waiting for the governor's approval for that. I believe it's section 6 and 8 of the state are open at this time, or opening on the 15th, but we still are not open. We're in section 1 of the state, and they are not opening health facilities. Pardon me. Yes. Oh, but we do have like a cleaning plan, and we're waiting for Oakland County to release how many maximum people per square footage can be on at a time. Some open communities are already like, if you have 4 treadmills, they'll block off 2 and 4 so that 2 can be used at one time. There will be built-in cleaning time right into that too. So we're working on that. Amy and Jim over at City Hall have been so great to make sure that we have all the supplies so that when she does make the announcement, we'll be ready to go.
And one of the things that we've been working on is a written operations plan for the wellness center, which we'll need to have. So once we get that wrapped up, we'll be ready to go and to hit the ground running once she allows that facility to open.
Yeah.
Chris, anything from Ferndale Schools at all? Anything new?
Nothing new to share.
Okay. All right. If there's nothing else, can I ask for a motion to adjourn?
Mayor, I move that we adjourn.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Yes.
Okay. Motion carried. We are adjourned.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks for everyone that joined.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Happy birthday, Shawnee.
Happy birthday.
Thank you so much.